Recording has started.
Very good. Thank you. And once again, welcome everyone. I call the meeting of the Fire Service Membership Council to order. Can we go ahead and do a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Chair Diehl, I see you. Vice Chair Nelson is excused. Brian Adams.
Here.
Ted Black. Ted Black. Justin Sherwood. Justin Sherwood. Darcy Davidson.
I am here.
Thank you. Michael Desrochers is excused. William Hyde.
Present.
Thank you. Ed Kaminsky.
Here.
Brandon Sullivan. Brandon Sullivan.
Here.
Thank you.
We're all set with the equipment upstairs. We're just getting her transferred over to the chair.
And if everyone could please put your mics on mute if you're not speaking, much appreciated. Kevin Lefebvre. Kevin Lefebvre. Jonathan Lund.
Here.
Thank you. Larry Medina, he said that he most likely is late. I'm just double checking. Larry Medina.
I'm present. I made it.
Oh, you made it. Great. Kelly Nicolello.
Here.
John Davin is excused. Craig Landau. Craig Landau. And Brendan O'Sullivan.
Here.
Great. Thank you very much. Roll call is complete.
Thank you very much. Welcome. And again, we have a very good presentation today. Always a topic of interest for many. So Christine, if you would like to go ahead and introduce them and let them take over.
Of course, thank you very much. So great presentation today showing our collaboration with our interested collaborators and our partners. I'd like to introduce Steve Hawks, Chad Hawkins, and Justice Jones. And I can let them introduce themselves with a presentation about ICS and IBHS in the defensible space arena. So gentlemen, I will hand it off to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think maybe we'll do introductions as we get to each other's presentations, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, and let's just move this out of the way so I can launch the presentation.
It might be a little larger if you were able to put, oh, there you go.
Yeah, it was working on that. It was just slow.
I jumped the gun.
Guess the computer hasn't woke up yet this morning. So hi, everybody. Nice to meet you all. I'm Steve Hawks, Senior Director for Wildfire at the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety, or more commonly referred to as IBHS. And my background is in the California Fire Service, having worked for CAL FIRE for 30 years, most of it, the first 24 years in the field, from firefighter to battalion chief, responding to emergencies across California. And then the last 6 years working underneath the Office of the State Fire Marshal and overseeing a division called the Community Wildfire Preparedness and Mitigation Division, in which we worked on all things related to a parcel level and community preparedness, defensible space, home hardening, or just a couple of those programs. And if you're not familiar with IBHS, we are a nonprofit organization that is funded to do research on how severe weather and wildfires impact homes and businesses. And in the screen there, you see our research center, which is located in Richburg, South Carolina. And in the center of it is our test chamber. And we have a bank of 105 fans. That's the circular things on the front of that big building. They're 6 feet in diameter, and they can blow up to 135 mile an hour wind through that big 6-story concrete structure that's behind them. And we can build a full-size structure, place it in the center of that concrete structure, and then expose it to the 4 different perils: wind-driven rain, hail, and wildfire, and see how the building responds as a system of components, just as it would experience a real-life event. And for wildfire, we're really focused on significantly narrowing the path to the conflagration type fire. And how we really define conflagration and the factors that set the stage for that to occur is the conflagration is really the uncontrolled spread of the fire within a community, leading to large structure loss. And those factors are drought that occurs at any scale, which really reduces the live fuel moisture content of the vegetation to a point where it's very receptive to a wildfire and the rapid growth of the fire. And then when you add extreme wind to that drought-stricken fuels, that wind, which is the single biggest factor to extreme fire behavior, can really push the fire at an extreme rate of spread and quickly push it into a community, which is the last factor, where you have the start of a fire near a community, and from the drought and wind, that fire gets pushed into the community very quickly. And so I'd like to talk just about the impact of wind for a second. And these are some videos taken at our research center on the backside of that test chamber, where we're blowing the wind through the test chamber out the back end. And the one on the right, you can see has no wind, where the fire, is standing straight up like it normally does. And we're getting flame lengths in the 20, maybe 30 foot range. But when you put a wind component on it, and this is a 25-mile-an-hour wind on the video on the left, you can see it really leans that column over and stretches the flames, and we're getting flame lengths up to around 40 plus feet. And not only is it leaning the flames over, it's also pushing the convective heat over. So everything that's downwind of that column is not only receiving exposure from the radiant heat, it's also receiving exposure from the convective heat provided by that fire column. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about how the conflagration scenario unfolds. And so we have a wildfire burning, that starts in the wildland area, and it's burning grass, brush, timber, whatever may be the case for that area. And when the fire starts, everything that's burning produces flames, radiant heat, and embers. And these embers are generally the first order of the fire's entry into the community. And when they land, if that's on a structure, or maybe they pass in through a vent or other void space inside the structure, they can directly ignite the structure, leading to its loss. Or they can land around the structure and ignite another fire, and then that fire can spread to the structure. And even a small fire that ignites within the first 5 feet of the structure can lead to the ignition of that structure and its loss. And so really at this point, once we start to have homes ignite, whether it's on the outer edge, once the flaming front catches up to the outer edge of the community, or we have embers igniting homes on the interior of the community, the fire really transitions from a wildfire to an urban fire. And that's a different type of fire. In this context, urban fuels are being ignited, and that's anything that's combustible, including homes and other structures on the property, fences, vehicles, ornamental vegetation, are just a few of the types of fuels that can ignite and allow for the spread of the fire within the community and between structures. And once that begins to occur under those extreme conditions, the rapid development and spread of the fire can quickly outpace the fire resources, as we all know. And as our attention really is focused mostly on protecting lives before we turn to structure defense, the fire can grow unabated within the community. And then it's really another set of factors that we look at as to how easy that fire that's developing within the community can turn into that urban conflagration. And the first one is structure density. So how closely spaced are structures from each other. And the closer the spacing is, the easier it is for one structure that's burning to ignite the next structure, particularly when it's downwind. The second factor is the connective fuels, or all the things that are on our properties that allow the fire to go from one location to another or from one structure to another through a series of combustible objects that provide a pathway for that fire to travel. And then the last item is the building materials that the structures are made out of. When you have buildings made of more vulnerable components or combustible materials, it's much easier for the fire to travel between structures and then ignite additional structures, leading to structure loss. And so we talked about those embers, flames, and radiant heat. And embers, we have determined from our laboratory experience and as well as our post-fire deployments that embers are really the leading cause of structural ignitions, whether landing on the home or passing in through the home or next to the home, which leads to its ignition. And so what do we do about it? When we go back to what we know, the fire triangle, right? We need fuel, heat, and oxygen for a fire to start and burn. And of those three, the only thing we can appreciably affect during a wildfire is the fuel component. And then the fire behavior triangle, topography, weather, and fuel. And again, the fuel component's the only thing that we can really affect. So how does that play out when we're looking at parcel level risk mitigation? And it's really looking at two things: the area that surrounds the house and then the house itself and the components and materials that the home is made out of. And so the first thing that we should do is look at the things that surround the house that are combustible and try to reduce the exposure as much as possible. And that's removing things off the property if that's a possibility, relocating things on the property if we can move them farther away so that if they do ignite, they're not right next to the structure leading to the ignition of that structure. And then the last one would be making materials more resilient. In this case, if you look at the bottom left of the screen where the wood fence transitions to a metal fence, so a fire burning on that wood fence would, once it reaches the metal fence, burn itself out and not be allowed to continue to burn right to the side of the structure and ignite that structure. And so we try to do as much reduction of the exposure as we can. And while we're looking at that and mitigating those vulnerabilities with that, we're also looking at the structure itself and all the components and the roof and the siding, windows, etc., all the way to the ground. And if there is a vulnerable component or material, what can we do to make that more resilient so that the home can withstand the remaining exposure of the things that are going to burn around it during these high intensity wildfires? And so it's really a system of mitigation actions that addresses both the house and its immediate surroundings. And under these conditions, it has to be a systems-based approach where you address all of these factors, because under these conditions, even one vulnerability can easily be exploited by the fire, leading to the ignition of the structure and its loss. And so once wildfire mitigation really starts at the parcel level, but it needs to be done at scale across entire communities to appreciably reduce the risk to communities at large, giving them a much greater chance of survival, even these high intensity fires like the Palisades fire you're seeing some of our drone imagery from. And so at that point, it's looking at how do we reduce the risk at the property level and then across the community. And when we're talking about new construction, that's where the building codes really come in and matter. That we do not allow new structures to be built that will become part of this problem and aid in the fire spread through the community. And then we need to address all the existing homes that are out there that are built in many instances a long time ago that are predate building codes and are very vulnerable to wildfires. And how do we retrofit them to be more resilient and deal with the defensible space that surrounds them? And so that's what we're tasked with. It's no small undertaking, and it's something that it's not just a single entity's problem. It's an all of us problem that we need to deal with. And with that, I'd like to transition over to Justice, and I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. So Justice, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Chief Hawks. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see it, just not on presentation mode.
It's the entire slide then? How about now?
Now we see your desktop.
Okay.
And before we were just seeing your PowerPoint, full PowerPoint.
That is, yeah.
Let's unshare and share again. How about now?
We do not see it shared. You had it up, it just needed to be in presentation mode.
I'm in presentation mode on my end. Let's see.
You'd like to try sharing it again.
Okay. Your time hopefully is a charm.
Great, now we see it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for this time. I know your time is precious, and we want to honor the amount of time that we have on the agenda. My name is Justice Jones. I'm part of the Fire and Disaster Mitigation team under Carl Fippinger, and I'm excited to be here presenting with you today. I didn't burn anything today like Chief Hawks, so I'll mostly just be focusing on Larry's request to share a little bit about the IWUIC and how it relates to defensible space and how it can support local communities and their wildfire resiliency. So I won't go too much into the structure side of it. Instead, I'll just focus a little bit more on the defensible space aspect of the WUI code. And then we'll talk a little bit about how that is compatible with the IBHS wildfire prepared homes. A little bit real quick about the fire and disaster mitigation wildfire program. If you haven't had a chance to meet the team, our mission is reduce wildfire risk through planning, codes, and mitigation. We focus on supporting jurisdictions with WUI code adoption and defensible space implementation, along with other mitigation measures, and work to increase awareness and use of the IWUIC by state and local wildland fire stakeholders. And I know there's several folks on the call who have adopted the IWUIC, which we're greatly appreciative of, and are implemented at the local level. So this may not be news to you, but hopefully it's beneficial to some of our other members who haven't gotten as far down the path as in code adoption as integrating WUI. And we're here to support you in those efforts. Just to speak to the defensible space aspect of the
Justice, sorry, Justice Christine, we're not seeing you advance the slides.
Okay.
Great, now we're there. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just do it manually. Thank you for letting me know. So it can be found in two locations in the WUI code. 603 focuses on fuels modification. And it looks at that first 100 feet around a structure, and it requires, as Chief Hawks mentioned, that you remove dead vegetation and ladder fuels, that vegetation that can be a receptive fuel bed for embers that are landing on or around the structure and the parcel, that you prune tree branches at least 6 to 10 feet off of the ground to prevent a surface fire from spreading into the top of the trees and then radiating more heat more intensely on the structure, and then maintain horizontal and vertical separation between plants and trees so you don't get tree to tree or vegetation to vegetation spreading on the landscape. And then finally, removing flammable vegetation near windows and decks. We know these from the work and research by great entities like IBHS. Windows are inherently vulnerable to fracture when exposed to high heat during these wildfires, and decks and can also serve as a fuse, leading embers to have a receptive fuel bed and spread to the remaining portion of the structure. And then 604 focuses on maintenance of defensible space. This isn't a one and done. It has to be an ongoing effort. And in some places in the country, it's multiple times a year. For example, if you're in an area with a lot of pine trees and they fall twice a year, that requires that ongoing maintenance. The vegetation must be maintained in a fire-resistant condition to be in compliance with the code, and inspections can be conducted by the local jurisdiction having authority to help property owners ensure that they're maximizing the benefit and potential risk reduction through the code adoption and maintenance. Enforcement, and are you seeing the next slide just to make sure?
Yes,
So,
we are.
Great. And enforcement and local adoption. One of the beauties of the WUI code is it gives authorities having jurisdictions some flexibility to tailor the code through local amendments to their environment and their community values. And I'll speak to a couple of examples where the WUI code has been adopted and then provisions have been added to the WUI code. For example, Austin, Texas recently adopted the 2024 Wildland Urban Interface Code. That code also includes a provision for 0 to 5 non-combustible zone or zone 0 around the first 5 feet of all new structures. And then in addition to that, they incorporated an ember protection zone. And so any structure within 1.5 miles of a wildland area has to have provisions to protect the structure from ember intrusion, both on the property, but predominantly structurally. So ventilation system screening and flashing and other mitigation measures between combustible components of the structure. California just adopted, as many of you know, the Wildland Urban Interface Code components statewide, which is real value to the community and local jurisdictions and provides clear guidance in addition to the great work they've been doing over years on how to mitigate wildfire risk. In addition to that, another community, Ashland, Oregon, has been really successful in adopting the Wildland Urban Interface Code. They extended that code community-wide because every aspect of Ashland is vulnerable to embers based on the size and geography of the community itself. And that includes a 0 to 5 non-combustible zone. So local jurisdictions are able to get creative if needed and incorporate additional measures that align very well with the IBHS wildfire prepared homes. The fire service role in implementation of the WUI code and these provisions are through education and outreach to the property owners, to builders and public officials to make sure they understand the value of the code and the need to maintain their property in compliance with the code. Supporting inspections and compliance through educational materials, training, and other mechanisms, and advocating for the adoption and enforcement of defensible space in conjunction with the WUI code. Now, typically it's not adopted with any retroactivity, and so it's predominantly related to new construction, but communities can volunteer to add that retroactive component, or what we're seeing in a lot of places, incorporating the wildfire prepared home standards into their local adoptions to cover both new construction and existing construction. So what we ask of our members and those in the fire service and building officials is that explore the adoption of the Wildland Urban Interface Code if it's appropriate for the area you're in. And most places in the country that have the combination of vegetation adjacent to structures could benefit from the code adoption, and especially the defensible space standards within the code. We know that defensible space, as Chief Hawks mentioned, reduces fire intensity and fire spread. So it's a really important component of overall wildfire mitigation in addition to the structural hardening. It also creates a safer environment for firefighters and first responders to operate. and in worst case scenarios, potential safe haven for shelter in place should folks not be able to evacuate or have to take shelter within their structure. So it's a really powerful life-saving measure, and every foot of clearance is a step towards wildfire resiliency for these communities. How IBHS and the IWOOC work together is the IWOOC provides a regulatory foundation for communities to have sustainable wildfire mitigation in place. IBHS builds on this with performance-based, science-driven standards and adds retroactivity, as I mentioned, so we can both retrofit our existing built environment, which is really important and where many of our current losses are taking place. And together they equal a comprehensive approach to wildfire resiliency. So we're really proud to be a collaborator and partner with our friends at IBHS in increasing community resiliency across the country, and look forward to expanding those efforts. With that, I'll turn it back over to Chief Hawkins.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Justice. Thank you, Steve. I don't have a fancy presentation like either one of them because I was just hoping to wrap up the overall concept of looking at statewide adoption and implementation and things along those lines. So for those of you who don't know me, I know I can recognize a lot of names on this list. My name is Chad Hawkins. I serve as the Assistant Chief Deputy State Fire Marshal here in Oregon, and I oversee various programs, but the main ones being our Defensible Space program, and then also our Oregon Fire Code program and the adoption of that statewide code. Spent 15 years in the California Fire Service, leaving as a fire chief, and then ending up here in 2015, where I've been with the State Fire Marshal's office ever since. So I feel like I have a good perspective of what I'll call fire in the West looks like. Been to other states as well on whether it be incident management team responses, and I think overarchingly, kind of working at the local, state, and even some of our federal partners at the federal level is when you go to partner with ICC, Carl Fippinger and Company and Justice to look at how you can apply these codes locally or statewide. I can't understate the amount of communication needed to get your community members, your constituent base, your legislators, and folks along those lines, your elected officials, to be understanding of the threat that's posed not only in the West now, but you've seen Lahaina, you've seen fires on the East Coast, Florida, Texas, New Mexico, the central United States. You're starting to see these urban conflagrations grow, and the more opportunity local and state agencies in the wildfire space can partner with not only the ICC with looking at potential code opportunities, but partnering with private entities. State Fire Marshal's office here in Oregon, just about 4 months ago, entered into a public-private partnership with IBHS to where we can utilize and even leverage a lot of the research our IBHS partners and Steve and company are doing when it comes to the wildfire space. Everything from that home hardening component and the provisions he was alluding to, but also knowing those go with the defensible space components and what is beneficial, looking at that 0 to 5 foot non-combustible zone. All that in conjunction and in harmony with knowing that we need to rebuild more resilient in the footprint of wildfire or in areas of new construction, making those homes resilient, but also looking at defensible space and what we can do now to treat retroactively some of those areas, communities, and businesses that could be impacted by wildfire, and some of those opportunities to increase wildfire resilience. In Oregon, legislation passed in 2021, we were going to be the second state to adopt a statewide defensible space and home hardening standard. We would have been the second state to do that behind California. And over the last 4 years, we have worked really, really hard to come to, I would say, a central agreeing point, if you will, when it comes to a couple components, because with implementation of any code, as you can see with the WUI code in particular, identifies needing a map and doing hazard or risk classification and doing some fuel modeling and fire modeling as a product of how you're going to implement those codes and where they should be implemented. There was a lot of public outcry, misinformation, misconception, Insurance became a huge part of this conversation in how insurance rates could have been theoretically affected by a map that's been created statewide. But a lot of falsehoods end up becoming mainstream within our members of the community, and very rapidly, due to that public outcry, the map rolled back. There were amendments over multiple legislative sessions, and as of this past July, several months ago, the Defensible Space Code and the home hardening provisions under our partner agency, the State Building Codes Division, were rolled back to be local adoption only at this point, where they were going to be applicable statewide on all lands that were mapped. And then the map that the Oregon Department of the Forestry developed was repealed completely. So there isn't a map in Oregon now that identifies those areas of great wildfire risk. And so what that means is those locals are going to be obligated to develop a mapping criteria, decide if they want to go through their local municipal process for code adoption for the defensible space and home hardening provisions, and then subsequently state agencies have no enforcement authority or anything like that. But all that being said is communication is key, and that educational public-private partnership component is so key as well. So however you can work with your constituents, members of the public, legislators, elected officials, like has been done in several cities around the United States, and obviously California has had some long-standing defensible space requirements. That is a all-hands-on-deck operation when it comes to identifying the facts, what is actually going to be affected, and how do we move forward. And then using IBHS on the side with the wildfire prepared home models, and working with the state insurer, the Division of Financial Regulation, and the insurance commissioner to identify opportunities to reduce potential policy premiums and stuff like that. So that being said, partnerships are key in this arena. Don't go into it blind, and reach out to anyone that has some skin in the game, so to say, as a resource. Always welcome. Steve and I have worked together when he worked with CAL FIRE, and we've gleaned a lot of information from California on what worked, and then also vice versa, what maybe hasn't worked as well, and some of those communication strategies within communities. But yeah, I appreciate the opportunity and open for questions. And again, thank you to Larry and company for inviting Justice, Steve, and I on here. Thank you all.
Well, thank you all. We greatly appreciate it. I know it's a hot topic, a lot of great information. We did see during the chat that there was a question about would the PowerPoint be available. So I'll just kind of throw that out there real quick.
Yeah, I can certainly supply mine. It would be a PDF version. That's all we share generally. That
would be perfect. We appreciate it. If you get that to Christine or Justice, we'll make sure that the members get it out. Get it.
Will do.
Any other questions? Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, I was curious how much impact does an unvented attic installation have in preventing embers from starting a home fire, and relative to some of these other things? It seems like that would be maybe not the easiest one, but one of the ones you could retrofit.
I mean, Steve is the subject matter expert, and I will definitely defer to him. But I would say from our perspective, when we're on our large scale conflagrations across the West, it's not direct flame impingement that we see with a lot of these home losses, structure losses. It is ember intrusion, and 9 times out of 10, it's because it found a place to seed inside an attic vent, and the size of that mesh screen, if there is anyone, if there is one in place, mind you, is a really high percentage of where we see some of those starts. But Steve, I'd let you add on.
Yeah, I mean, wildfire is a very complex environment, and there's many ways that the fire can get there, and certainly embers are one of the leading causes of that. Either, the embers landing on the structure, passing in through a vent, igniting the house directly or indirectly by landing in front of it. And so I always get asked, what's the top 3 things, the vulnerabilities, or 3 things that I can do to reduce my risk at my property. And although I do point out 3 things, and I'll tell you what those are in just a minute, I always follow up with, during the intense wildfire, you cannot just do three things and expect your house to survive. You have to do the full set of mitigation actions. And so those 3 things are really the roof. If you don't have a Class A roof, you really need to look at that. That is the biggest vulnerability. It's a large surface area, complex geometry, sits high off the ground, an easy target for embers to exploit. And then really the next 2 are, I kind of think of as very similar in stature, the vents and that first 5 feet, that out from the wall of the structure and any attachments. Those 2 are really critical. We see a lot of research done at IBHS where Steve Quarles, our previous wildfire research supervisor, spent a lot of time in attics looking at the embers flowing inside. And when you have a 1/4-inch mesh, the embers can pass through very easily, and it only really takes one of them to ignite a combustible item on the other side. When you have 1/8-inch mesh or lower, while taking into consideration what vents are normally designed to do with exchange of air and moisture control, they don't typically accumulate in any one particular area. And if you don't have like boxes stored right behind the vent on the inside, 1/8-inch mesh is adequate to withstand wildfire.
And quick follow-up, if I may, does having a metal roof make a big difference relative to the proper classification that you just mentioned?
Yeah, that's certainly one of the classifications for a Class A roof. So tile or other materials that can be a Class A rated roof. And then it's not just the material, but it's ensuring that the gaps that may be in there, if you have a barrel tile roof, that the gaps at the ridge line in the barrel tile, that there's bird stops or some way of preventing embers from getting into those gaps and then igniting the fire underneath your good exterior material.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Again, appreciate it, gentlemen. Thank you again for the information. You're more than welcome to stay around for the meeting, but we will continue to move on.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
So any additions or corrections to the agenda? Not hearing any. I'll move into the approval of the minutes. Everybody should have received a copy. Hopefully reviewed it. Do I have a motion for the minutes? This is where we need participation, folks.
I'll make a motion to approve. A second. This is.
Thank you very much. Now that we're all awake again. Anybody disapprove? Motion carried to approve the minutes. Thank you. We'll move into our work group updates. Member engagement. Mr. Medina, I know you're still here. I saw you come back. Hopefully you can provide us an update.
I'm back. I'll stay off camera because I'm traveling. But the engagement work group met last Wednesday, and we're continuing to do our piece on collaborating on the presentations, and I'm looking forward to the meeting in Cleveland. And once again, appreciate the support from Mark Roberts, just keeping us in our lane and with the guardrails up, and then also Brandon, Kevin, and not forgetting Ted. Actually, I didn't forget him, but anyhow, it seems like we're all rowing together, and things are it's easy as the chair. So thank you. That's all. End of report.
Again, thank you, sir. You're doing a wonderful job. We'll move into emerging issues and trends. Boy, Justice. I know Mr. Desrochers was off. Justice, would you like to give an?
Yeah, I'd be happy to give a quick update on Michael's behalf. We did meet Monday, and we're still working on the automated form to file topics and working on a location to house that form. We're also reviewing the current list of action items and updating those items. So when we transfer the data to the new records management process, the data is current. And there were no new topics discussed. We focused on building that form capacity. And thanks to Paul and his team for their work on putting that together and finding a place for it to rest. End of report.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Yes, I think it's been a long time coming, but looking forward to that form submittal process all being out there. Public awareness, Kelly.
Good afternoon, everybody. So thanks to Christine, based on a doctor appointment that took too long, I wasn't able to make my own meeting, but Christine championed that through. And so thank you, Christine, to that. And that discussion took place was our defensible space document being finalized. Now we're looking at the document distribution list on who it should go to. We're working on that as we speak. We're looking at our draft micromobility safety document for the group's review. And as soon as that happens, we'll go ahead and finalize that and submit it for publication. And then in the works, we've got another document on cooking safety that is being worked on. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And look forward to anybody else who wants to participate. And if you do, contact Christine and she'll get you on the invite list. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And just a great reminder to everybody, on the call, you do not have to be a member of the governing committee. Anybody on this call is more than welcome to sit on one of the work groups and be involved. We'll go into the last one, training and education. Jonathan or Ted?
I can jump in. We did meet last week, I believe. Apologies, I've been out of the office quite a bit lately. So we've got a lot of things in the works. We're continuing to work on like the Inspector 1 soft skills class. We've got some one-pagers. We're looking at like a quiz option, like a question of the day type thing. We've also got the database of approved classes that we continue to work on. So lots of things in the works. Nothing is across the finish line yet or in a finished product, but we continue to work on that. And Ted, feel free to jump in if there's more there that I'm missing.
No, I think you covered it well, Jonathan. Thank you.
Thank you both. Again, another committee doing great work. That's all the work groups. We'll move into our reports from officers and liaison. And we will start with our Director Toomey for a report from the board, please.
Thanks, Tim. I just want to comment, great presentation on the WUI stuff. The last couple of days and into last week, spending a lot of conversations here in New Hampshire talking about the drought conditions we have, and our Forest and Lands Division's pretty concerned about the conditions here and reminisce of events that took place in the 40s and 50s. So it's timely and it's good reminder for all of us. As I was thinking about the meeting, I did note, and if people haven't seen the GR, hang on one second, I had a dog. Sorry about that. Home this afternoon. There's a pretty good WUI article that was in the GR report for September. It talked a little bit about Colorado and the study and the impact of building resilience in the codes and on the WUI side. So check that out if you haven't seen it. I think most importantly, I realized I was a month ahead of myself last month, but for this time real, hopefully look forward to seeing a bunch of people in Cleveland here next month at the conference. If you haven't registered and confirmed your voting privileges, make sure you get that taken care of if you're going to stay for the hearings. I am participating in a work group to look at some of the energy codes right now. Don't have a ton to report out right now, but we'll be looking at that. And then the next few weeks, we're probably going to be looking at a report back to the board in December. A reminder, if you haven't, the Pro Codes Act, as the federal delegation starts to ramp up, it's a good time to get out and make sure you get your voice heard and let your reps know that the Pro Codes Act is pretty important to all of us. And lastly, just a reminder, if you're interested, the candidate forum for the board positions is September 24th. And the information is on the website. And at this point, all the candidates and their pages are on the website if you want to check them out. So I believe Director Metz was on. I don't think I saw anyone else, but thank you and happy to answer questions now or offline.
Yeah, no, thank you, Director Toomey. And of course, I saw Director Metz on the line. Always great to see him. Director Metz, do you have any comments for us, please?
Thank you very much, Tim. Sean does an outstanding job as usual. We've trained him well coming out of membership council here. So only item I'm going to add, if you are coming to Cleveland, there are two bylaw change proposals that are going to be heard. They're important to, one of them is actually coming from the board. If you were there last year, we did have a proposal in Long Beach that was related to removal of board directors for cause. We are bringing this one back. It is the same language we had last year. We're trying to do a little bit better job of educating why we feel that we need this. There is a lot of information on the website. If you go to the ABM page, there is the specific language that's being proposed and all the background information on why we feel it's necessary. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to either myself or Director Toomey. And then there will be another bylaw change proposal that's actually coming from the membership. This one is intended to cap the number of third-party representatives a particular third-party contracting firm can have on the board at any given time. Third-party employees are eligible to serve on the board as long as they're given GMVR status through one of the contract cities they serve. And there has been some concern voiced by one of the members where she got 100 people to side with her on capping that at no more than 3 people from a particular third party. So if you contract with third parties such as Safe Built or Wildan or any of the other smaller companies that may be out there, the concern was having too many people from a particular third party, even if they are from all over the country on the board at the same time, that could be potentially problematic. So the proposal is to cap that at 3, no more than 3 for a third party. That doesn't mean that you can't have more than 3 people from third parties on the board. It's just from a specific third party. So that will also be heard and voted on. If you have any questions on that, you can reach out to the proposer directly, or you can again reach out to myself or Director Toomey for additional information. The board has reviewed that one as well, our bylaw committee, and has taken a position of support on that proposal. So it'll be in the hands of the membership now to determine if that's going to get ratified into our bylaws. Other than that, I look forward to hopefully seeing you all in Cleveland, and I'll turn it back over to Chairman Diehl.
Thank you, Director Metz. Yep, I think we're all looking forward to Cleveland and seeing you there.
That's the plan.
Any other questions or comments for the directors? I don't see any, and I did not see anybody else from the board. All right, we'll continue on. Report from the chair. It's been, as everybody knows, it's been a busy couple weeks. It has been a lot of activity getting ready for Cleveland. And I'm just trying to still make as many meetings and other events as possible. I've been down for several trainings and organizations, both fire and security, breaching that gap as I've been doing here lately. that's really all I have for that right now. I have a couple other topics down further on. Our Vice Chair, Doug Nelson, is busy. He's been running many errands as the State Farm Marshal for North Dakota this week. So I will turn it over to Miss Christine Reed for the staff liaison report.
Thank you. I'm filling in for Carl Fippinger, who is on a travel day today representing ICC. Actually, Director Toomey and Director Metz covered most of what I wanted to say, and we have upcoming agenda items. That was also something I wanted to talk about, so I have no further report this month. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you. We'll move into the liaisons for the councils. I did not see Allison, and I don't know if there's anybody else from the building membership council on the call. I was only able to get to their first part of their meeting, so I can't really have much of a report either from the building, but I know they did have it, and there will be some changes coming forth from there. As far as the membership council steering committee, we will be meeting next week. It will be our September meeting. We have multiple topics that several of the councils are bringing forward, all in preparation for the in-person meeting in Cleveland. So that being said, as we all know, balloting will be conducted electronically again. Everybody should have gotten a notification of members who are up for election for the governing council. Last year, they sent out an email. This year, you probably will get another email, but all those emails will be based off of membership in the membership community. You heard me spoke about it before. If you're not part of that ICC member engagement platform, you need to be. That's how the balloting is going to be conducted. That's how you will get the email providing you a link to the ballot. Just remember, you sign up for the Fire Service Council. You can also sign up for any of the other councils that you may be interested in. But that's why it's going to be important to get to that engagement platform. Once those, and the other important part of it is the ballots were announced. However, there's still nomination period. It is open until September 22nd. So you can self-nominate if you so wish to be included on the ballot. Again, all that information is on the engagement platform. I encourage you all to make sure you check that page to get more information from there. And that, I think, is all I have on the membership steering council. Global. Was there anybody from Global? All right. Emerging leaders. Again, I didn't see anybody. And we'll go down the list to sustainability. Again, I did not see anybody. I know all the groups are getting ready for Cleveland and in-person meetings. Anybody else from one of the councils?
I believe we have Shane on the meeting.
Shane, are you here? Yeah, I don't see anybody. And I don't see anybody from PMG. All right, well, we will continue into ongoing business, which that is one of the main purposes or main responsibilities of the steering committee is to produce the annual report to the board. We are in the process of that. The draft is just about complete. I was hoping to have a total draft for review. I have a draft with the whole group that is in there. I believe that everything has been covered from this group that is there, that presents us once again with all the good work that we've done. The one thing I will ask is if anyone does have some photos or pictures from either the spring event or one of our trainings, if you could provide that to me, send it to me in email. I greatly appreciate it to be included in the annual report. I think that's the only thing that is missing. At this point, all the other membership councils have submitted their reports. So the steering committee, once again, will be getting all those, putting into a packet, getting it ready to be submitted to ICC staff for the compilation and editing and making it look pretty, for a better word. But as soon as I have something, I will forward it out to the group. Any other ongoing business? We'll move into new business, which this is the, I guess I really wanted to make sure that we're all aware that ICC is going to a new, I say it's a new reimbursement. It's the same reimbursement, but it's electronically, and I'll let Christine kind of review that with us, please.
Sure. So this is for the governing committee members. You get a reimbursement package for your travel and attendance to the Fire Service Membership Council meetings. I've had discussions with all of the membership council governing committee members thus far. This new process, for those of you who haven't submitted yet, this new process is really kind of the same in terms of the document that you need to complete that shows your days and broken out by hotel and airfare and meals and all of the other covered expenses. But it is an electronic submittal. So when we immediately after our attendance to Cleveland, the governing committee members will receive an email from me with a link that you will click on to submit your reimbursement package. Now, it's really going to have a few fields about what your name is, email address, the address that you want your reimbursement to go to, and then it's going to ask for you to upload your receipts and upload the reimbursement form. So you will still have the reimbursement form that you need to fill out, save it as a PDF, and then you will upload it with all of your receipts to that link for submittal. So this is the first year that ICC is doing this. So we may have a little bit of growing pains, but if you have any questions during that reimbursement, please let me know. Right now, it's looking like once you submit, I'll be able to see it. So we can talk if there's any need for discussion regarding your reimbursements. But if you have done your reimbursement in the past, it's the same process. You're just not submitting everything via email. You're going to be doing it electronically through that link. So that's about all we have right now with this process. If for some reason you needed to have a pre-reimbursement, please contact me individually. But otherwise, you will get the reimbursement packet. The sooner that you get it in, the quicker you'll be able to get your reimbursement back. So if you have any other questions, let me know as we go along, and we'll just work through it this first year together.
Great. Thank you, Christine. Any questions? And speaking of Cleveland, that will be our next meeting. It will be in person. Of course, before that will be the membership steering committee, where the elections will be, results will be announced. So these will be the candidates for the council seats that are up for renewal. those names will be announced on that date. The term will then start in January, pending approval by the board. Are there any other comments, questions from the audience? Again, great turnout. Great to see everybody. Looking forward to seeing everybody in person in Cleveland for those of us who can make it. It's going to be another working meeting. We'll do our breakout sessions again for our work groups. And other than that, if no one else has anything for good of the order, I will look for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Okay. I know there was a second in there somewhere. So
Second.
there we go. Again, appreciate everybody's time. Thank you very much. Safe travels and see you in a few weeks.
Bye-bye.
See you later, Tim.